Well, it's that time. It's that time to talk about Decadence, which may be
Yes.
this season's breakout. It may be this season's Darling in the Franxx. It may be this season's I don't know what the fuck I just watched. Um, the,
um
the jury is still out, so I had to catch up. I know that you had some questions from last week, and I feel bad now that I hadn't watched it then because maybe we could have been confused together at the same time.
Man, uh, well, if you guys can't tell, this is going to be the main topic for this week. We're
Right.
'cause I'm still confused. But we'll get to I just so let me get this straight. The world basically was in the apocalypse from the monsters, right? The regular human world. But there was a company that made these cyborgs, and now the cyborgs run the world, and they created a bubble for them to basically play in on the actual Earth. Is that right? Or am
As
I?
far as I can tell, that's what's going on. Then
Yeah.
it also seems like the either the last humans alive or some of the
Are
last
the ones
ones
in the
are now in
tankers?
this bubble. The bubble is being
Yes.
used as a video game for the cyborgs who are not inside the bubble to, I
Yes.
guess, have fun or harvest that
Yes.
oxyone material. It's not really clear. Um,
So,
like if there's a direct connection between that and anything that's happening in the overworld, or if that's just for the
mm-hmm.
purpose of making their decadence game function. It's very clear
Yeah.
though that it's also some kind of like power source or a drug or both that
Mm-hmm.
is used by the cyborgs. There doesn't really seem to be an obvious way in which they're getting it out of the game area, but it is taking place in a real space, so it's not virtual. My first thought when I saw like season 2 and I just saw like the opening part of it, I thought, oh well, maybe they're the one of those two worlds is like virtual,
Yes.
but they're both real. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I was so confused that I went and I checked to see who the fuck wrote this shit. Because either this is someone who has never, in my head, this must be someone who's either never written for TV before or has written a lot of weird ass shit. And I was right in the second piece. So the writer is Hiroshi Seko, and I had
Mm-hmm.
never heard of his name before, but when I did a quick scan of his writing credits, his very first project was an episode of Panty and Stocking, and
I love
yeah,
penny stock.
and then his first like I mean he's written for I mentioned some series before. He wrote 4 episodes of Darling in the Franxx. Since I'm not familiar with which
Oh
four and I
shit.
don't know them by name, I don't necessarily know if they
It
were in the
doesn't even
first half
matter
when
though.
it was good or if they were in the second half when it was utter garbage. So don't know the answer to that.
Oh
Also
boy.
wrote multiple episodes of Zankyo no Terror, so that could also be either a good thing or a bad thing. And is
Oh.
credited as a writer on Banana Fish, which low key is actually an excellently written show. And he's
I forgot
credited for
about
the whole
that.
season, as well as like some screenplays for Mob Psycho, the first season I think. Well, yeah, the first season and then a few from the second season as well as some of the scripts on Attack on Titan and most recently Dorohedoro. So I am mostly optimistic because
Mm-hmm.
he has been involved as a writer on far more excellent products than he's been a writer on god awful products. Um, so that's where the writing stands. With respect to what we know about the show so far, there's a few things stand out. I think the first is that I still like all of the characters. I think that now that I know some of the background, and I haven't really looked into the director either, but now that I know some of the background, I am picking out aspects of the way this show is written that remind me of the good parts of a lot of the shows I mentioned. In particular, it has a lot of Darling in the Franxx DNA. Like,
Well, he was the director of the director for this. He did Death Parade, and
yeah,
Death Parade was pretty good.
yeah.
He storyboarded a little bit. Oh, he was on Kids Night. Okay, no, he wasn't on
So,
Kids
so that's the thing, is that there's a lot of talent that now that I'm familiar a little bit more with the work and the staff, that I am excited. I'm still actually very positive on this whole endeavor, because my biggest worry with shows like this are that they are attempting to sketch a world that is a commentary, or could be a commentary, on real life ideas. So here we've got class discrimination. We've got, as far as Decadence goes, in the first 4 episodes, we have class discrimination. We have authoritarian, fascistic government. There's a whole lot about like predestination and determinism, and that's wrapped up in a lot of very likable, very believable characters who are adhering to the rules of their world, as crazy and wacky as they are. But I think that I've been able to identify with everybody that's been on screen and their story. So that leads me to believe that like there's a lot going for this show. As far as what we've seen in the first few episodes, Natsume is still like, I would say, of this season, what I'm watching this season, is one of the best written protagonists for the season. She feels like a person. She makes decisions in ways that are reasonable to, you know, the world that she lives in and who we know she is. Her emotional range is correct for someone who's basically a teenager, but is dealing with all this stuff. She is a very good access point for the audience to understand both the wondrous parts of the world that she's experiencing, but also like the horrible stuff. I really appreciated, and what I think was episode 3, their version of a training montage, because it felt fun. It didn't feel forced or boring. And I probably should have known, because they did the exact same thing in the first episode, only it was with her basically learning how to be an armor repairer. And, you know, we got the same interaction of her and Kaburagi, but now this time, you know, he's being a little bit more honest about his interests and his skills, whereas when you first meet them and they first go through that training, it's just them getting to know each other. And speaking of Kaburagi, I don't know what to make of this character at all. I don't know what you felt about it, but to see the juxtaposition of the robot that just looks like it's from a completely different show, dealing with like Robofascism, and then like
this is what is throwing me off. This is what is throwing me off. So you keep going. I agree with everything you've said so far, but god damn it, I think I am enjoying the way that they're presenting the characters and how they're presenting the information, but it's also kind of like driving me crazy at the same time, because the world and the way that they've built it is just so like they're so heavily juxtaposed to each other. Like with the cyborgs, like where are they? What are they doing? How are they even surviving? And where are they getting their resources from? And then to the Decadence. And then I'm also wondering, how are the cyborgs able to have bodies in the Decadence sphere? So like, are those humans? Or so when they talk about the bugs, are they like mass producing humans so that they can implant these chips so that the cyborgs can control them? And that's what their player characters are. And then you have the regular humans who are just like, you know, doing whatever. And is a bug. No, that doesn't make sense, because Natsume is considered a bug. But
right.
Like,
I think bug is actually more of a it's conceptual. So a bug would be anything that deviates from the controlled system, because they go, I think in episode 4, they outline that once the cyborgs took over or gained ascendancy, that cyborg society is organized by this central planner,
Yes.
which they sort of refer to as the system. So anything inside of that system that or that's managed by that system that deviates from its purpose or its role is considered a bug. And so the bug could be a person or a human who, in Natsume's case, her chip doesn't work, and as a result of that, it sort of exists or lives outside of the rules because she can't be detected directly by that system. Now, we don't know how that is going to play into the story. We don't know if the fact that her chip is broken means that maybe she can do things that other humans can't. At first, I thought maybe it might be that her being able to become one of the, the geared, or what do they call them?
The powers.
The power. I thought that maybe, because she doesn't have this chip, she can do this. But no, we find out very quickly that there are other humans who seem to be perfectly normal and inside the system, but they also have risen up based on skill into that class of warrior as well. So, it hasn't really been determined what the impact is. It seems like Kabaragi's approach is that because she doesn't have this chip, she's free. And so that means that because she has dreams, and those dreams go beyond what was, given to her, told to her what she can do, that he doesn't want to get rid of her because she represents something that he cannot do. Or at least he's struggling with, which is liberating himself. But
agreed.
But they haven't gone. I mean, I don't know if they've really gone into any detail about what that means beyond that.
So do you know what they mean about the refills, where he didn't refill for the longest time, and then he finally did it once after he realized what Natsume was?
Yeah. So this is some real post-human and sci-fi shit. So essentially, the cyborgs are immortal as long as they keep refilling their energy. There's no fear of death from old age. And in the backstory where they show how his team got dismantled because that one dude broke the system, he cheated. He basically resigned at that point to just let himself die. He knew it was his fault that this happened. He knew that if it was clear that it was his fault, the person who gave this person information, he would be killed. So he made the decision to to live on, but was kind of half-assed about it. And rather than be killed, he was I'll just kind of do my job until I run out of energy, kind of refusing to eat, hunger strike, and he would just die. And then when he met this girl, he was well, it seemed to happen twice, right? He was going to do it before he met Pipe. He was going to let himself die. And then 6 years later, I don't know, some amount of time later, he's about to do it again, and then he meets her. So is she a dog to him, a pet? I don't know where that goes, but that seemed to be what they were implying, I think.
I mean, I'm definitely enjoying the aspect of... So, I want to know about these... So, well, I would like for them to explain how the androids are getting bodies to participate in this. Yeah. As far as that, because those motherfuckers are still dying.
Yes.
Episode 4, a lot of people died. Just... not immediately, but regularly. I was so the finale. Also, I really like how they're animating the zero gravity shit.
Yeah, it grew on me.
Yeah, I really, really, really like it. I'm enjoying all of the fight scenes for the most part.
Well, there's definitely rules to it, because when they first sort of intro, they just look like a bunch of shit happening in the sky. And I'm if I can't follow the action, it's probably not very well directed. That's my opinion. But they cleaned a lot of it up, and they spent at least an episode actually explaining how this shit is supposed to work. It's sort of like when you watch Attack on Titan the first time, you can kind of figure out how the gear functions and what the rules are for physics and whipping around, but at some level you need it to be explained to you exactly what are the limits of what people can or cannot do with this shit, to then contextualize the action you're actually seeing. And obviously a bad show will tell you the rules and then like do some shit visually that makes no sense. And this is not one of those so far. So I really appreciate that they at least spent some time explaining what the fuck that tank thing was and like how it worked.
Yeah.
I guess we could also maybe talk about how it is itself almost 3 different shows.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are there. Maybe you can run first and see what's up.
I don't have any thoughts on that because I still
trying to get through the first one. God damn it!
I'm still trying to get through the first thought. Like when I tell you, I have questions, but I'm enjoying the show because I have all these questions. It's intriguing enough to where it's like, you know, the breadcrumbs are there, but I also have more than enough to go off of right now where I can just, you know, theory craft myself and think, oh, well, what if it's this, or what if it's that, or what if it's this, what if it's that? But at the same time, I'm getting, what is it, like not an Urobuchi Gen vibe? I'm getting a despair vibe.
Yes.
From it right now. I'm getting a very big, something is going to be revealed, and I'm going to be like, oh, this is some fucked shit.
So, do you want to know what show I was reminded of after I watched episode 4?
What?
Cashern Sins.
You know what? You're right.
There's so much in here that gives me that vibe, especially when they spent like 3 episodes, the last 3 episodes running down what the world is like for the post-humans, the cyborgs, and from the design of Hugin, I think is the character's name, the sort of enforcer, which itself is a very interesting allegory to Norse mythology, because in Norse mythology, Odin has 2 ravens, Munin and Hugin, and you know Odin has lost an eye, and in place he can sort of see the future. He traded that ability for his eye. But Munin and Hugin are like the observers of Ragnarok itself. So to have like a character that has that name, that's in sort of like an enforcer of order sort of role, is very interesting, and I'm pretty sure that that's deliberate. But when we actually see their society, it seems like a pretty hollowed out and shitty one, right? Like all the cyborgs have to do what they're told. They can't die unless they are scrapped. The rules for getting scrapped are basically follow the fucking rules. And if you deviate in any way, you're done. The only enjoyment they seem to get is playing this game where they inhabit mortal bodies again and then run around and get killed. And then other than that, they just get high all the time and contemplate their own like self-annihilation. So that's a pretty bleak like future for humanity if that's what the end state of technology is and society is in this world. And our main character contemplated suicide twice. So that's Cashern all over again.
Yeah. Okay, so go what are your three classifications?
Yeah, so I think one is an isekai, weirdly enough. It's just it's an inverse isekai. The second is a adventure series, and the third, I'm guessing, is we're gonna do. This will probably be what the latter half of the show is a giant robot series, because we see in the opening that at some point robots are gonna be flying around shooting at each other,
fighting each other.
There's clearly like a Evangelion vibe going on with like the people in charge of Deca-Dence. Like, I don't think that they would have designed that mobile structure to already have like human limbs if something weren't going to be made of it. I mean, like, my brain melted when in episode 1 it just became a Rock'em Sock'em robot arm and just punched that dude. Like, I was looking for a beam or some other shit. Nah, they motherfucking rolled up and just started punching monsters in the face. So I'm sure there's an allegory there too that's going to play into things. We had like some Sword Art Online action happening in this last episode where they're talking about like, oh, this event is going to kill everybody, and we've done it multiple times, and You know, like those are the three shows. I think you got an isekai in there. You've got a very familiar like fantasy adventure type show, and then probably some kind of like robot anime. And funny that the writer was involved in panty and stocking, because all of the shots or all the sequences where the cyborgs are in their own world look like they could be from panty and stocking.
Yes, that is. So, I missed that show. I need to go back and watch that. Actually,
it's really good. It's weird.
But
it's good.
Yeah, it was so weird. I loved it. I loved that shit. It was so fun. Yeah, I don't know if I can just like state how much episode 2 knocked me out. Like, it really just like it's like, when you're like playing as a kid and you're just like out blah blah blah, and then your parent just comes and jerks you, and it's like, what the fuck did I like, just get over it. Like, it's like that, where it's kind of just like, okay, I'm doing this thing, and it's like an immediate abrupt just like, hold up. Like, I don't know. My parents aren't abusive, you guys. But anyways,
so
it took me out, because I was just like, after that episode ended, I was thinking, I was like, okay, Jordan, I know you just had like, a head accident and shit like that. Like, did you forget? Did something happen at the end of the first episode? Do you need to go rewatch the first? And I'm like, and I log on Reddit and shit like that, and everybody else is like, what's going on? What is this?
What the fuck? Hey, yo, what the fuck?
That was James' reaction when he watched it finally. And I was like, yeah, same shit. So I agree with you. And did you talk about like sticking the landing yet?
Not yet, but yeah, but it does sort of dovetail with the first sort of part of the conversation about the background of some of the folks involved with this series, which is, so we've covered that there are some pretty heavy ideas that are being floated. It's hard for me to say with only 4 episodes in what is the opinion that is being sort of pushed about the setup for this story. We've had things again like bio or cyber determinism, fascism, class consciousness, all this other stuff in order to set up this world. So now there needs to be some follow through as to like, what is the artist behind this? What are they trying to say within that structure? And so I know that probably in a few episodes, I think this is a one course series. Somewhere around episode 6 or 7, all this shit's gonna take a turn. I mean, it's already taken like 7 turns, but there's going to be a turn, at which point we will be on a road to, some answer, like, to what is this series about. And once we get there, we'll be able to answer as an audience, what did they pull off something that is moving or valuable or insightful or unique, or is it Darling in the Franxx? By that I mean utter garbage that makes no sense and never should have been made. I mean, that's just what it is. Like,
I'm a Darling in the Franxx apologist.
It's not
I'm
a
not
bad
say
series.
That it was bad.
It's not bad.
I'm just gonna say I agree that it dropped the ball.
Yeah.
It
You go for that triple axel, and then you break your ankle and slam into the protective glass and get half of your body stuck out over the ice rink while you're bleeding to death. Like, that's how Darling in the Franxx ended. It was a fucking disaster. But everything up to that point, the routine that you were doing, would have been, 10 out of 10. People be talking about this for years.
Trigger without space.
You gotta stick that fucking landing.
No studio trigger without space. It's not happening, okay? It's not fucking happening. Well, B&A didn't have space, but you never know. Might get a second season.
Right. I mean, when you started watching Darling in the Franxx, did you assume that it was just about having babies?
No.
Is that what you assumed the story was about? Because that's not what I thought the story was going to be about.
Okay, we clearly need to dive.
Right. That's a whole other thing. But yeah, that's what I mean. Is that like right now there's a lot of pieces that are in the air that are all every one of them is interesting. Everything they're doing, what they're saying, the world they're building, the narrative that they're sketching out here, the characters, their interpersonal relations, like. It's all super interesting, and it seems to flow together, as weird as it is. Like, you know, I'm willing to go along and buy this for a while, but I know that at some point the writing is going to have to come clean with what its intent is. Why does this show exist? What are they really trying to say about this stuff? If I think the best possible case, given how convoluted everything is that it's just a simple message about, you know, rising beyond, you know, determinism, right? Like freedom and, you know, things shouldn't be directed for you, self-determination, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think that's, like, the best case, is if it's not overly ham-handed about that, and it just sticks with these really endearing, believable character interactions that get us to some finish. It's also possible that there's just too much stuff happening for all of it to get resolved in a way that hangs together. And so then it's not a clusterfuck, but it is what I would call like a failed project. Something where you had a big idea, but the skill level or the constraints were just not there to pull it off. And in the worst case, it's Darling in the Franxx. It's what I'm sorry. The worst case is that the actual message is something that is regressive. Right, where you know, and I harp on that particular example, but there are others where like you could have gone left and instead you go right. Like I've been tricked plenty of times by like really good anime that ultimately is like some weird like quasi-nationalist message about like what was it, the Gate? You remember that isekai Gate?
I finished the first season. I couldn't get through the second
season. So
season.
Gate starts off like super interesting as far as isekai go, because it's like, what if you were trapped in another world with a fully functional 20th century army? Like, okay, cool, I could buy that. But by the middle and end, you realize that it's just like nationalist Japanese like masturbation, and no better than that. It's actually pretty gross by the end, like what they're doing. So I think that it's unlikely to be that bad, and I think that the writers have come up with, or the writers come up with like some cool stuff to work with. But damn, it could go bad. We know it could go bad.
I'm gonna have faith that it won't go bad, but also they need to start churning out some shit because it's only 12 episodes.
I know, yeah.
So once we hit that halfway point, if it's not chugging along or we're not getting some like some ussy-gussy whatever, then I'm gonna start to have second thoughts about it. I'm still gonna watch the whole thing.
Yeah, I think I'm pot committed to, unless it really flies off the rails. I'll probably be finishing out this season.
I don't see it flying off the rails.
I don't think so either. I think it'll still be weird, but weird is fine as long as
I like the weirdness. I think that it's very different.
Yeah,
but not like revolutionary different. I just think this is like, oh, this is something. This is not your, like, you know, shonen shit. This is not magical girls. Not, you know, slice of life. Like this is interesting. I'm here.
Yeah.
For it.
The only other thing I'll say, which is has nothing to do with the story, is just like I refuse to buy into Pipe as being anything other than a disgusting abomination that needs to be destroyed.
Okay, yeah. I don't want that thing to be important.
Yeah, fuck it. I mean, if it's going to be important to the story, okay, but don't fuck with me and try to pretend like this thing is cute. It is fucking gross.
It's ugly as fuck. I don't like it. I don't like it.
I think
maybe that's the intention.
Yeah, it's either that or it's like people who unironically love pugs. Like pugs are disgusting animals that we should all be ashamed of ourselves as a species for like doing that to a dog's DNA. Like,
okay.
My wife is a vet and she loves animals, but like if you look at brachiocephalic dogs or any animal that's like that, their life is living hell because you've squashed their entire snout like down, like flat with their face. Like they oh look, it's so cute. Oh, he's panting. It's because them motherfuckers can't breathe. Like it's horrible. But we all pretend like, oh, it's so cute. Look at these little bulldogs. No, they are suffering in front of you, and they will suffer from the moment they're born to the day they die. And that's how I feel looking at Pipe. That it's like just screaming, kill me, and they're gonna dress it up. Like, we've already gotten that, right? Didn't they already like put a fucking put an outfit on it, and it's like, don't worry, it'll go outside, nobody will notice. Like, is this what dogs look like in their world? It's fucking disgusting. Kill it immediately.
I hope it doesn't turn out to be like the first docile one, and then it leads to them learning that, like, oh, we can cohabitate with them. We just have to find a way to communicate. Like, if they do that, I'm gonna be like, ugh, I guess
we've done this before.
I'll take it.
Yeah,
we've done this before, but I don't want. If we must, I guess I'll take it.
Yeah, we could have like a whole other conversation about the anime trope of like, well, if we all can just understand each other, then everything will be okay. But it'll be in a show where the backdrop is like half of a civilization is just destroyed with like, you know, a giant nuke or a sky laser, and the main character is literally fighting or has some ability that could wipe out the entire world and has done so for 4 episodes. But then in the end, it's like, well, I can finally talk to my enemy. Like, you're a war criminal. Like, what are you there is no talking at that point. You're going to prison.
Aldo Noah Zero.
Yes. But Aldo Noah Zero is also ill, so
yeah.
I think Aldo Noah Zero gets the award for like the best representation of an autistic main character, because that man is heavy on the spectrum.
Ooh, don't you know it? But fucking phenomenal.
Oh yeah, and the soundtrack is. I still bump like keep on keeping on.
Hiroyuki Sawano is a genius.
He's a god.
He's a fucking genius.
That scene where like dude gets he shoots the bullets around the planet. Like that was my shit. I was like, get wrecked, motherfucker.
Oh my god. That deserves a rewatch now, because I haven't watched it since it aired. Ooh, that deserves a rewatch. All the music. Okay, wait, we're not talking about that right now. Anyway, Deca-Dence. Anyways,
Deca-Dence.
So I'm here for it.
Yeah, me too.
I'm here for it, but I just had so many questions, and I'm glad that we like talked it out, because now I'm like, am I too stupid to understand this?
No, nobody is too stupid
like,
for this show.
I just feel like that I'm missing something, and so I don't know. I just needed it ironed out. That's it.
Yeah,
I needed it ironed out, cleared out a little bit.
Seeing those things bleed is still a little uncomfortable for me.
Really?
In the sense that it's already a gross show with gross creatures, so it's having gross creatures now bleeding everywhere is like not.
And it's necessary for them to breathe.
Yeah, and then it's like, and then you'll have scenes where like they'll open the floodgates and it's just blood. You know, I'm sure there's going to be a scene in the next 2 episodes where you see those, like, you were asking, like, oh, how do the powered that are being controlled by the cyborgs get created? I'm sure we're going to see a scene where they're literally baking niggas. Like,
yeah,
I'm sure we'll see that. And it'll be fucking gross.
I think Natsume is probably going to get maimed or die by the end of this.
That's what I'm saying. Or, like, there's going to be body horror with Kabaragi's, you know, physical non-robot form, because we saw in the opening that at some point this motherfucker's gonna be flying around as a robot doing shit, and if that doesn't happen, then I'll be really upset.
Yeah, they can't put that in the opening and then we not get it, because I want that. I've been waiting for that. We might be getting that more closer to the end of the series, because I feel like he's not going to do that shit alone. He's going to have other people to fight against that fucking system. But
at that point we'll find out if I'm the vibes, the Cash Earn vibes that I'm getting right now are legit, or if it's just aesthetic stuff. Because like that dude Hugin's like glasses is very like 70s era. Was it Cyborg 66? What the hell is the name of that series?
Oh yeah, Cyborg. Wait, 009?
There we go. Cyborg 009. You know, like OG anime stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that it's all a choice. Everything is an aesthetic choice. It's all a choice. So I hope that they can deliver. But you know, if it just turns out to be an okay show, I'm fine with that. I won't fault them for having lofty ambitions and then not really meeting it. It's just don't have lofty ambitions and become Darling in the Franxx. You're all gonna have babies.
Glad they're trying it. I'm just glad that someone is trying something different.
She turns into a robot with a womb.
Wait, what?
No, I'm just saying like the design for at the end of Darling in the Franxx.
Oh, okay.
Well, her whole thing is that she couldn't have kids, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, I was like, wait.
Yeah, it's so dumb. Why? Why? Now I need to actually go and check if this motherfucker was responsible for those last episodes or the first ones. I gotta know.
Listen, there's so much shit that okay, yeah, we gotta do something on this because you clearly have a lot to say, and I'm an apologist for Darling in the Franxx. I just am. I wanted to like it so much,
but you don't have to apologize for anything. It was a good show until it wasn't. Like if you were following it, like there was a lot of like really risky stuff that they did.
Yeah.
That was handled very well. It's just that if we had all known that the ending was where they were going with it, it just recontextualizes the whole series and makes it bad. But if you just like shaved off the last 2 or 3 episodes, like it's actually a pretty good series.
Yeah. Okay. All right, that's it for Deca-Dence.